Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Reshmi Mukherjee. In my channel, you get ICSE, ISC, CBSE, English literature and English language topics. As you already know, we were doing the chapter, The Elevator. This is the second day and we are going to continue with our topic. We did a portion of the chapter and the rest of it we will finish off in today's class. We have a few more classes on this because we will be also doing the questions, the themes and the other sorts. Okay, there are a lot many things to do from here. This is a very interesting story and it is kind of psychological. So we have to delve deep into it. It is going to take time. Okay, we have short videos, 13-14 minutes videos only, but pay attention to it so that you won't have any doubts. We are moving on. We finished with this page. We saw the lady, the fat lady, and how that scared the little boy. So we will move into the next part with a new picture of the lady and with the next part. Let's see. It wasn't possible. It was like, sorry, I missed a line. So he thought about her all day. Did she live in the building? He had never seen her before. And the building was not very big. Maybe she was visiting somebody. But 7:30 in the morning was too early for visiting. Somebody would not visit your home at 7:30 in the morning, right? So he kept on thinking in school that with what purpose this lady was here. Was the lady inside the building itself, living in the building? Or the lady has come from outside for visiting somebody? But why would she visit somebody at 7:30 in the morning? Martin felt nervous when he got back to the building after school. But why should he be afraid of an old lady? He felt ashamed of himself. He pressed the button and stepped into the elevator, hoping that it would not stop. But it stopped on the third floor. Martin watched the door slide open, revealing a green coat and a piggish face and blue eyes, which were already staring at him as if she knew he would be there. So when he was returning, he was shocked to see that again the lady was going to accompany him in the lift, as if she was waiting there to board the lift as soon as the boy would be there in the lift. So it was impossible. It was like a nightmare. But there she was, going up with the boy now. Okay, so Martin is going to which floor? 17th floor. And his voice a little more than a squeak. She nodded and stepped in. The door slammed. So the door closed and both of them were stuck inside the lift. He watched her pudgy hand move towards the buttons. She pressed not 14 but 18. That means she was not going to leave the lift before the boy leaves. The boy would have no idea where this lady goes, but the lady will have an idea where the boy is going. Okay, that is also very awkward for the boy. The top floor, the elevator trembled and began to go up. The fat lady watched him. Again, the fat lady is looking at him constantly, face to face. Okay. Yes, fat lady watched him. Next, this morning she got on at the 14th floor. So why did she get on the 3rd floor today and go up to 18? The elevator seemed to be moving more slowly than usual. So this is just psychological. When you are afraid and you are awake at night, you feel that that everything has grown very slow. Okay, and the time is not passing at all. Imagine your parents have left you at home and you are there all by yourself at night. You are sleeping. You can't sleep. You have your eyes wide open and it seems that every second is counting. That kind of a feeling. So he feels that the lift is moving even slower. And he is also thinking the lady boarded the elevator at the 14th floor. Now, why is this lady again going to the 18th floor? Where does she actually live? This morning she walk up the stairs, but he could not reach the buttons without touching her, and he did not want to do that. So he was so very afraid. He was, kind of so very awkward that he did not even want to touch the lady. And he wanted to press the button and he wanted to get out of the lift and take the stairs. But that also is not possible because the lady is fat and the fat lady is standing like this and there is no space so that he could press the button. He did not want to do that. When the elevator stopped on his floor, she hardly moved out of his way. He had to squeeze past her, rubbing against her horribly scratchy coat. He was afraid the door would close before he could get out. Okay, so this was such a situation that he had to move out, like somehow he had to manage out of the elevator. Okay, because the lady had taken all the space in front. So if he had to move out, he had to squeeze himself out somehow. The lady was not moving at all. So now she knows I live on 17, he thought. So now he is even more afraid. The lady now knows that I live on the 17th floor. She can just barge into my house as well. So we will now move into a new page and we will see how the father will meet the son. Let's see. "Have you ever noticed a strange lady in the elevator?" he asked his father that evening. "Can't say I have," he replied, not looking away from the television. So the father is busy watching the television. He is not interested in what fear the boy is facing. So when the boy asks, he did not want to ask. He had to, bring up a lot of courage to ask the father that, "Have you seen the lady? I'm afraid." Who wanted to say? He wanted somebody with whom he could share his fear. But the father is not aware of it, ignorant, So the father says, "What are you so worried about now?" He says that, "You see, she was in the elevator with me twice today. She just kept staring at me. She never stopped looking at me for a minute. She was constantly staring at me and all that." He shares it with the father. But what does the father say? Do you think he's going to support? No. "What are you so worried about now?" his father said, turning impatiently away from the television. So he was very disgusted that, again, for this foolish boy, I have to stop seeing whatever I'm seeing on the television and I have to pay attention to him. "What am I going to do with you, Martin? Honestly, now you are afraid of some poor old lady. How can you be afraid of a poor old lady?" "I'm not afraid." So the son also has to prove himself, no? That he's a macho boy. He is not afraid of anything. So I'm not afraid. "You are afraid," said his father. "When are you going to grow up and act like a man? Are you going to be timid all your life? Are you going to be afraid, going to be shy like a lady? Okay, like a woman?" So we have this saying that boys don't cry. That is a very foolish idea. If you are afraid, if you are sad, you should cry it out, right? There is no such sexist comment that you can make on this. A person who is feeling sad should cry to vent out the emotions. Because if you have too many emotions, you're barged with emotions, you cannot control it, you will have some panic attack for that. So this father has no idea of all that. He is going on saying that, how can you be afraid? How can you be timid? When will you grow up into a man? So you see, the parenting is not good at all. Moving on to the next page, we have this boy who is very sad now. So Martin did not want to cry in front of his father, so he waited until he got to his room. His father probably knew he was crying anyway. He slept very little. So he's so sad that he waits till his father. He did not want to show his father that he's afraid. So he waits for his father to go into his room. Then he goes inside and then he cries. Okay. So we see how sad he is from the inside. We understand the plight of the boy over here in this story. Moving on to the next part. I lost the line over here. Yes. In the morning, when the elevator door opened, the fat lady was waiting for him. Martin stood there unable to move, then backed away. As she saw him, her expression changed. She smiled at the door as the door slammed. Imagine the condition. Now when he wants to get in the lift, he sees again the next morning the lady is over there. And the lady is smiling at him. Look at the face. Imagine that face looking at you and smiling. You will also be afraid. So he smiles. She smiles. And now see, this is not very strange. If somebody has seen you on day one in the lift, second day he or she may smile. Maybe a lady had a very bulky body, but that was not very strange. The fear is there inside your head, It's created in your head. Outside is just the replication of it. You just see a portion of it. Maybe the reality is also not that. Okay, it is just a fat old lady. All the fear is set up in your mind. So the door slammed, and as she smiled at his face. Now the boy is so very afraid. Look at the thing what he does. Martin started running down the stairs. The stairs were dark and he fell. So he was so very afraid that he started running down the stairs. Okay. And as the stairs were dark, already it was said that there was no light at all. So it was dark and he fell down while running down the stairs. Okay. Now what happens next? We see his father was silent on the way to hospital, disappointed and angry with him for being a coward and a fool. So we see the father is again disgusted that the boy has fallen. Now I have to take my son to the hospital and it is going to waste time. Okay. Martin had broken his leg and needed to walk on crutches. When he fell, he broke his leg. He could not use the stairs now. Was that why the fat lady had smiled? So he is thinking whether this lady was actually a supernatural being, a witch, who knew that I'm smiling. I know that you are going to fail in your exam. But I know that something bad is going to happen to you. That kind of a smile, a supernatural, a witchy smile. Okay. So did she know what would happen? So we see that the boy is now afraid that the woman is kind of a witch. Next, we see that at least the father was with him in the elevator. So finally he's satisfied that the father was there with him in the elevator. The father has accompanied him over there, and he's not going to meet the fat lady because the fat lady will not enter the lift because it was too small a space for her. She was fat. So there was no room for the fat lady to get in, and if she did, her father would see her and maybe he would understand. When he got home, he could stay in the apartment for a few days. The doctor said that he had to rest as much as possible. Martin felt quite safe from the fat lady now. Oh, I almost forgot. His father reached out and pressed number 9. So when they are returning from the hospital, the father was accompanying the boy. So he was not afraid. He was safe. He felt safe for the first time. But now suddenly the father says, oh, I forgot I had to visit somebody. What are you doing? Asked Martin, trying not to sound afraid. He had to hide also that he is afraid. I promised to visit Mrs. Ullman, said the father, looking at his watch as he stepped out of the elevator. He is not worried about all that. He just says, oh, it's this time I had to meet this lady, some person living in the apartment. So you do one thing, I promised her, so I have to go. Let me go with you. I want to visit her too, Martin pleaded, struggling to move on his crutches. He wanted to walk out with his father for the safety. But, alas, the door was already closing. Afraid to be in the elevator alone, said his father. Grow up, Martin. The door slammed shut. So the father mocks him instead of helping him. Imagine the father is mocking the boy in such a condition. He says, oh, you are that baby. You are afraid of being alone in the elevator. And the door slammed. Grow up, Martin. He says this and the door closes. Now again comes the lady. Okay. Martin hobbled to the buttons and pressed 9. But of course, it had already left the 9th floor. So now if you press the 9 button, this is not going to stop at the 9th floor because it has already set its journey for the 10th floor. So it did not stop. The elevator stopped at 10, where the fat lady was waiting for him. Imagine, the moment the 9th floor is gone, 10th floor mein, this lady accompanies him. She moved in quickly and he was too slow to get past her in time to get out. He wanted to get out somehow, but he had this crutches, He could not be so fast. So he was locked in with the lady. The door closed and the elevator began to move. Hello, Martin, she said and laughed and pushed the stop button. So he pushed the stop button, meaning she was going to some floor. Now this is very interesting how repeatedly the lady comes in and out, and every time meets the little boy. This is an open-ended story and you can interpret the story, this meeting the lady, this part, how the boy meets the lady, who is this lady actually, the suspicious element of the lady. You can interpret it as many ways possible. But of course, that has to be logical. Like I will give you one example. You can say that the lady is actually a lady who is kind of a nurse or something, who accompanies, who visits different places. You can say she is a caretaker whom the boy is not aware of because they have just shifted to this apartment and she is unaware. Or maybe she has taken new duties of managing this apartment. Okay. You can even say that this is actually a dream the boy sees. Okay. And because of this fear that he has in his brain, because he has this fear innate inside. Okay. Like because he is bullied in school, he is bullied by his father as well. So he has a very bad childhood, very scary childhood, and that is why he sees all these things when he is trapped inside the elevator. Whenever he is alone, he imagines this lady. That also you can say, right? And you can even say this is just a very normal thing. Just the shape of the lady might be very fat or somewhat abnormal, but otherwise she was a very social lady. She loved children and that is why she smiled from the second day. Okay, there was nothing abnormal about it. I have told you many interpretations of it. Try to find out some more if you can and write it to me in the comment section. I would be glad to see your interpretations because literature is all about interpretation. It would be very boring if you just listen to what I am explaining and it is done. Okay, think about it so that you can come up with certain things. You also have certain fears, right? Think about it. How would you fear? How would your brain, develop this fear into something more? Okay. So I would like to see many comments, more interpretations of the same. And thank you so much. See you in my next class with the themes, with the element of fear, with the title significance, summary, and others questions. So bye-bye. See you in my next class.